my digital presentation for my COMM 601 final paper on Les Miserables and its ability to provide equipment for living. The purpose of this paper was to discover ways I have used the film Les Miserables as equipment for living in being able to live a meaningful life after a dark past. My goal was to demonstrate that anyone who has made regrettable mistakes in the past can learn from my experience in order to find equipment for living through this film and re-engage in their dilemma of living a meaningful life afterwards. My literature review, I begin first with Burke's literal derivation of the idea of equipment for living as first seen through the idea of a proverb or a moral story that helps us deal with life's problems. Then I move to a more socio-psychological approach by suggesting a developmental gradient to show the dangers of people who completely separate their actions from the film or those who cannot differentiate their actions from the film. And so I recommend an integrative approach in which the actions of the film are reflected upon in the light of the viewer's life. Then I move to a greater concern of whether the emphasis should be upon the film itself or upon the audience. Then seek to bring out of the literature the importance of defining exactly what it means to provide equipment for living, in that it must be able to articulate the fears, the hopes, and the concerns of the audience, and also provide a resolution that actually seems feasible for what they could actually engage in their actual life and particular struggles and situation. I conclude my review by asserting the fact that scholars have argued for years that audience studies should be the focal point of this particular rhetorical criticism, and in fact it can actually be more insightful than actually analyzing the film itself. This led me to really shape my methodology more around drawing upon the reflections, the memories, and perhaps any means by which a person may have recorded their experience in watching the film. Young, in his article, noted that Terry McMillan had found equipment for living from The Wizard of Oz through her discussions of her own memories and reflections in her journal as a child. Jurgensen, in his studying of Christian culture and how they utilize fantasy film, he uses his data the online forums and websites of these different Christian viewers and how they develop these themes. My first point was regarding the fact that in my experience, I did not pursue the film of my own accord, but that I was encouraged to watch the film by my barber, who felt that it would provide equipment for living for me, having known my situation and my background and struggling to overcome my past. Felt like there could be a lot more research, not just about how films can provide equipment for living for a viewer, but how it may be able to provide equipment for living for the community around that particular view and how they actually recommend it. This to me also suggests that I was prepared for the film to provide that equipment for living by my barber. I was told that it would speak to me and that I would resonate with it. And I think it would provide a wonderful field of research to explore that concept. Are people more prepared to find equipment for living in a film if they're told beforehand versus ones who just watch it? Lastly, I also argue that my experience really suggested that a film can still provide equipment for living and that it shouldn't be measured by whether the viewer takes the literal resolution given by the film. And I say this because in my case, the film Les Miserables, Jean Valjean changed his name, or Javert had committed suicide, and I don't think I left the film thinking that I had to change my whole identity to remove myself, nor was I thinking that, oh, the individuals involved in my legal case need to commit suicide and that things will be resolved. I realized that my research was a big gamble and risk, as it really opened up some aspects of my life that I'm not necessarily the most excited about, but I wanted to take the risk because I felt like I would get more out of the research, and that it would be more meaningful to me in the long run. And I felt like it gave me a better grasp on the concepts of equipment for living and all the associating ones with that and how it could be relevant to myself. So